The views expressed on the Midvale Main Street Theatre podcast do not necessarily reflect the views of the Midvale Main Street Theatre, its owners, advertisers, or volunteers.
Well, this is Todd's apology in advance.
Because I've always kind of been, I don't want to say an outcast, but like kind of on the fringe. But I know I was a Russian assassin named Ravashio.
Do you remember looking up at that headshot wall? What were you thinking while you were looking at that?
I gotta be a part of this wall, man.
Okay.
And I did, guys. I made the wall. Boot camp is the hardest thing to describe to someone who's never experienced or like even seen it.
Or even
It's
lifted weights, really.
yeah. You serve this purpose for all this time, and then they kind of just drop you off the face of the earth. Somebody couldn't remember their lines.
Uh-oh. Calling people out.
And so he was doing Spring Awakening the first time you guys did it.
Right.
And so I came and saw it, and then I was just hooked. That Spring Awakening was incredible, and I was just like, I gotta be at this theater.
Yeah. Line! Hey guys, what's going on? This is Michael Howell. Welcome back to the Midvale Main Street Theatre podcast. Hey, not too much news this week, but I did want to go over what we had, and then we'll just go ahead and jump into the episode. I won't spend too much time with you here, but yeah, like I say, there is a couple things to get excited about for sure. The first one is that Mamma Mia rehearsals are absolutely in full swing. I say that because I've had the chance to see a couple of at least the videos of a couple of the choreography rehearsals and everything, and yeah, it's just insane. We have Nick Crapo is the choreographer, and he is just pulling out all the stops for it, for sure. It's just funny because obviously Ashley will come home from choreography rehearsals and she's just, sweaty and exhausted, and she has random bruises that I'm not really sure where they came from. Like, she has one on the outer thigh, which just doesn't make any sense to me. It's a big one too. So, it's going to be an incredible show. Just from the choreography alone, I can absolutely say that with confidence. So yeah, it's just, I'm super excited to see what these guys put together for sure. And that kind of leads me into another couple bits of news here. First is we found out that a man by the name of Jeffrey Black is going to be playing Sky in Mamma Mia. And super excited. I'm not too familiar with him, but I do know that he just played Schroeder up at Centerpoint Legacy Theater's production of You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And if you've ever seen that show, you know that Schroeder is such a crazy hard part to sing and everything. So I'm sure he's, super talented, and we are going to love having him on the stage for sure. The other bit of news with Mamma Mia is that we got the run dates of it, and it's kind of crazy because they open September 27th and they run through October 27th. So an entire month of Mamma Mia, which is insane. It's like that's the longest running production on Midvale stage by a little bit. I'm not sure what days they're actually going to be running. It's usually like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday with a couple either Mondays or Sundays thrown in there too. But, an entire month, it's just another testament to what Tammy's trying to do with the show. She's pulling out every single stop that she can. She's bringing in amazing talent to work on the production crew. She's getting sets from crazy places, and I'm just so excited to see it. It's going to be a monument show at Midvale for sure. And yeah, like I say, that's kind of what I have as far as news goes. Not too much going on. Once we get closer to opening, I'm sure we'll ramp up a little bit. But before we jump into the actual interview this week, I did want to take a second to just ask if you guys are enjoying the content. If if you like what you're hearing, please go ahead and just leave like a 5-star review wherever you're listening, either, Facebook, iTunes, wherever else. If you could like our social media pages and share them, that would be super, appreciated. When I was working on this show, I absolutely came at it from a Midvale Main Street Theatre stance, but I also wanted it to be able to branch out and be something that the entire Utah theater community would like to listen to. So if you know anybody that doesn't necessarily, hang around Midvale circles, but would enjoy the content, go ahead and let them know. I would appreciate that for sure. Yeah, and like I say, that's everything I have, so why don't we go ahead and jump into today's interview. This week, I got to sit down with Todd McRae. He is a longtime friend of mine, actually, but he's performed at Midvale for about 3 years now, and it was super interesting because not only did we get to talk about high school where he and I met, we got to talk about kind of what shaped him as a performer and what he learned from high school, but we also got to talk about what happened to him after high school. I don't know if everybody knows his kind of backstory, but he actually served in the military. He was a Marine for 4 years right after high school, and then from there jumped straight into Midvale shows. So it was super interesting to me just to kind of hear what shaped him and what he brings to his roles. But then we also got to break down his roles at Midvale. Got to talk about every one of them because every one of them has a little story involved in it. And it's super interesting. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I enjoyed actually doing the interview. So, I guess without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode featuring Todd McRae. All right, here we are. How are you, Todd? I feel like it's been forever since we've actually had the chance to sit down.
It has been.
Yeah.
I think the last time we actually talked was at your wedding reception.
Right, and that was even just for a second. Yeah. Because, that was such a crazy day, but cool. I mean, I wanted to have you on because, number one, you expressed your interest, which was really cool. Mm-hmm. But we have such a unique connection between us at Midvale because we knew each other in high school, and now we just have done shows together. We even did a show that we did in high school at Midvale, if that makes sense. So it's really cool.
Grease.
But exactly. Well, cool. I like I say, let's just jump into it. You doing all right? You're doing Mamma Mia right now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cool. How's that been going?
It's going good. We're still kind of just getting started, so we haven't really jumped into anything too crazy yet, but we're starting to nail down some choreography, and Jason is helping us get our music down, so we're sounding good.
Cool. Well, like I say, Mamma Mia is very exciting. You just got cast as Pepper, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, cool. And that I'm not really too familiar with Mamma Mia, but he's kind of he starts flirting with the Cougars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Yep. That's awesome, man. Well, and that's what's really cool. And again, I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself here, but I just love going over what you've played at Midvale. You've played such interesting, diverse characters. It's just you're playing Kenicke, who's the asshole one show, and then next you're what's his name in Rock of Ages, who's just
Franz,
exactly. So it's really cool. It's really cool. But anyway, like I say, we will get into all of that. But this week I have on Todd McRae. He has been performing at Midvale for. When did you come? Do you remember?
2015, I think, was my first show.
Okay, and that was Grease, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Well, cool. And again, like I say, we'll get into all that. But I just wanted to shoot the shit, man. It's been a little bit, but let's just jump into it. So, Todd McRae, were you born and raised here in Utah?
I was. Yep, I was born in Sandy,
cool.
Raised
perfect
in Sandy.
Awesome. Do you have any brothers, sisters, or anything?
I have 2 older sisters, and then I have a younger half sister and a younger half brother.
Wow, gotcha. Okay, so a pretty big family.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. So how was that? How was growing up in such a big family?
It was interesting. My parents got divorced when I was 3, so I don't really have a whole lot of memories of a full
family,
100% family all the time.
Sure.
But I spent time with them both equally. And
so when you the half sisters and everything, is that what you mean?
Yep.
Gotcha. Cool. So growing up, what were you like? If that's a weird question, but what did you do?
I was kind of a weird kid, I guess.
Okay.
I was really hyperactive, and I think that's kind of plays into why I love theater so much. I did sport. Well, I tried to do sports from when I was about 8 on to right before high school.
Okay.
And then I kind of dropped out. And
so that's interesting because I say the exact same thing. I tried every single sport that you can think of and then just it never worked, and I ended up in theater. So cool. What kind of sports did you do?
I did mostly football. I played football every year from 8 to about 15. And then I did lacrosse for 2 or 3 years, and that's probably the only sport I ever really excelled at.
Gotcha. Lacrosse. That's awesome because, again, I did the same thing. What position did you play?
I was a midi.
Midi. Gotcha. So you were the one running your ass off the whole time.
I'm
Sure.
fast.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like as I played attack, and for those of you who don't know lacrosse, it's basically soccer as far as positioning goes. And midi are the people who are running between the defense and the attack, or the offense, I guess. And they have to be the most, light on their feet, but also the ones that can fight for the ball and everything. They're the most important part of the game, I feel like. But cool. Yeah, I mean, I love lacrosse as a sport, and I love football. Watching it, I never played it. It's just look at me. I'm not an athlete, but cool. So you say that you tried all of these. Was that something that you wanted to do, or was that something your parents kind of did for you?
My whole family is really big football players, and so it kind of was like, oh, this is just what we do.
Right.
And I had a lot of fun doing it, but after a while it kind of started to feel a little forced, so I stopped doing it.
Gotcha. Okay. When you say force, is it just that it wasn't clicking for you as like an enjoyment thing, or was it just the athletic side of it?
I just started to enjoy it less.
Okay, cool. Well, and that brings me to, it sounds to me where I really wanted to jump in. High school is kind of where it seems like you kind of branched away from athletics. Is that right? Okay, cool. So you come to Brighton High School, which is cool because, again, I went to Brighton High School. So Todd and I went to the same school. You were just a year behind me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So did you start in sophomore year with acting, or was that kind of your first jump into acting?
No. So I had done, I had taken drama classes in middle school at Albion.
Okay.
And
with
then
John Adams, right? Oh, that guy.
The infamous John Adams.
Yeah, you may know who he is. He's done some Hale shows, but could you just kind of try to describe this like enigma of a person?
Oh, God.
It's hard. I mean, so I only took one class from him, and he was just so like, you think of like the turtleneck wearing theater person, and that's who it is.
Absolutely.
He's just, yeah, I don't even know. Do you have
very properly spoken? Like,
do you have any memories of those classes or anything like that?
The very first kind of assignment he gave us is we had to do a monologue from a movie.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
And I chose, have you seen A Knight's Tale?
Yeah. A long time ago, but yeah.
I did Geoffrey Chaucer's like opening speech to kind of bring in Heath Ledger.
Gotcha. Cool. And
that was a lot of fun.
Sure. Well, yeah. And that's funny about like the junior high and even some of the beginning high school classes. They kind of try to like make it relatable to people. But yeah, man, I don't. So I took that class, and I don't know why I kept going in theater after that, honestly.
Really?
Because it was just, it was weird. It was weird. Like, did these classes click for you? Like, did you love it?
They did. I was
Really?
hooked the second I walked in there.
Okay, cool.
And even though he was kind of a weird guy, like I felt like I vibed with him on some level, and so I really enjoyed it.
So what about it clicked for you? Was it just being in front of people, or was it just...
I think so. I think it's just getting a chance to stand up, and because I've always kind of been, I don't want to say an outcast, but like kind of on the fringe.
Sure.
And so being able to get in front of a bunch of people and just do something fun is just calls to me. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's kind of true for theater kids in general. Like, we're all outcasts at some point, So cool. That's really cool. And it's really like, you're the first person I've talked to about junior high and about John Adams that has liked it. So this is kind of cool for me. Anyway, did you learn anything from him, or?
I learned how to project. Definitely.
Sure.
That man's
he
voice
didn't
can
have an
fill a
inside
room.
voice. Yes, for sure. Okay, cool. Well, and I'm sure that you also got more comfortable being in front of people and performing and everything like that. So cool. So coming from that, coming into Brighton High School, what were your thoughts? Like, were you trying to get into the drama club? Were you trying to get into these classes immediately, or?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I actually I auditioned for Phaedra Atkinson, our lovely teacher.
The infamous Phaedra Atkinson. We'll talk about her in a second for sure.
Yeah, I auditioned for her to be in the Theater 3 class while I was still in 9th grade at Albion.
I didn't know you could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Okay, cool. Before we do that, then, why don't we kind of lay the groundwork? What do you mean by Theater 3? What do you mean by productions when we get there? That kind of thing.
Okay, so Phaedra had, was it 4 separate theater classes that she taught? Theater 1, 2, and 3, and then productions. And so if you wanted to just kind of just sign up for a class, you could sign up for Theater 1 or Theater 2. But if you wanted to be in Theater 3 as a sophomore, anyway, you had to audition for her.
I think you did all the way up through senior level.
Did you really?
I can't remember, honestly.
I think once you were in, you were just in.
Oh, that might
be. But
be.
if you wanted to make the jump, you had to audition. Maybe that was it.
That sounds correct, because I don't remember ever auditioning for Theater 3 again. But Theater 3, what was covered in Theater 3? Because I'll tell you, Theater 1 was the basics. It was just, this is the fourth wall. This is what upstage and downstage means.
Lots of improv.
Yes. That kind of bled into Theater 2 as well, the class, because that one was film acting and improv, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And those two, I'm sure you remember, those were kind of just more fun. It wasn't about the technique. It was just
really lighthearted, just coming in. And
speaking of, and I'm sure that you guys have already been conditioned. I'm going to kind of go on tangents here, but Theater 2, like I say, they did film acting as a big part of it. Do you remember the film that you guys made at all or anything?
Oh, God. I don't remember the plot really exactly, but I know I was a Russian assassin named Ravashio.
I love it.
And I had like those Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle daggers. What are they called?
Oh, the ones that Raphael has, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember what they're called, but they have some fancy name for sure.
Yeah, but that was my whole shtick.
Sure. That's so fun. Like, yeah, I loved Theater 2. That was probably, I loved them all, but Theater 2 was the one where I was just like, I love doing this, because it was just bullshit. It was just fun, you know, for sure. Okay. So anyway, getting sidetracked, like I say, you auditioned for Theater 3 your last year at Albion Junior High, right? And how did that go?
Terribly.
Okay.
So I did a monologue from Romeo and Juliet, of all things, and I was like sobbing because it was like right before he's gonna get banished.
Okay.
And I like fell to the floor and I started to cry, and then I went, oh shit. And I forgot the whole rest of the thing.
No.
It was like a 2-minute monologue, and I was like maybe 45 seconds into it.
Oh man.
And so I got up and I walked over and I looked at my notes. And then I went back and I just dropped back down and started doing it again.
I love it. That's, yeah, for
But
sure.
I guess it worked. So
because you got in. Yeah. Okay. Because that's what I remember. I auditioned. Exactly. So I auditioned for Theater 3 my first year at high school. I can't remember the names of the years now, just randomly, but I auditioned my first year in high school and got in for the next year. And again, like that's what I say, that's where we met. Go ahead and describe Theater 3, the class.
So Theater 3 is Shakespeare, pretty much the whole time, if I remember correctly. And how it starts out is she splits everyone up. Well, she gives the whole class a Shakespeare show that we're going to do down at the Cedar City Shakespeare Festival.
Right. So those of you who
down there.
Right. So for those of you who don't know, they have the Utah Theater Shakespeare Festival, but they also invite most schools in Utah, right, to come down and perform just like 10-minute scenes from shows, right? Yeah. And then they also have competitions for just smaller scenes between like 2 or 3 people, basically. Anyway, just wanted to kind of set that stage. Do you remember what show we did that first year?
We did Hamlet.
Okay.
Starring
Jesse Pepe.
The incredible Jesse Pepe.
The YouTube famous Jesse Pepe. Yeah. I actually forgot it was Hamlet. I remember, rehearsing those scenes, but I didn't remember
was
his
weird.
Hamlet. So it was really
being
weird.
in the ensemble for that was weird.
Yeah. Why do you say it's weird?
Because we were just kind of standing in the back with weren't we holding candles? I think.
Yeah, it's
and
like
cloaks.
I feel like, and this is kind of true of Phaedra in general. She's never going to listen to this, so I don't care if I say this, but she kind of set up a couple people to really act their ass off in some of these shows, and the rest of the time they're just like, I don't know what to do with you. I'm just going to kind of stick you in a corner.
We'll just place you right there.
Right, exactly. So yeah, these scenes they kind of turn into these weird interpretive things. What were your kind of thoughts as you were going through this, just being in the ensemble and kind of adding to the story rather than having lines or anything like that?
I don't know. I guess I kind of just wanted to take it upon myself to just create as much mood as I can, as I could, because that's all that you could do.
Right. Sure.
So just feeding all my energy into the actors, and doing our little whispering in the back,
which is again, it happened the next year. But do you have any memories or thoughts about watching the seniors kind of do their thing at all?
I was mesmerized by them.
Okay. Why do you say that?
Because I just really, really looked up to him. I was like, this is where I was watching my own journey a couple chapters ahead.
Right. You were seeing the kind of finish line of where you wanted to be.
This is where I want to be.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. I mean, I kind of felt the same way. It's just when you're that age and you see these kids that are actually acting, you know, it's just, yeah.
When you're that young, they seem so much older than you.
Right.
Even though they're 2 years older than you. You're like, oh, you're full grown adults and you're so incredible.
Right. Yeah, it's true. I almost felt so I met a couple of my better friends in that theater class. But I didn't think of them as friends at that point. I thought of them almost as parents, you know, they were
absolutely
teaching me how to do this, for sure. I get you. So yeah, I mean, that was cool. I did want to also touch on, we did a scene together.
We did.
Yes, we did. Do you remember what it was?
It was Macbeth. I can't remember the actor, the scene. I remember what the scene was. I don't remember which number it was.
Right. I don't remember either, but I remember all I remember is that it was at the very end of the show where Macbeth and Macduff duke it out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Do you remember anything about getting that put together?
Well, you were, to set it up, you were Macbeth, I was Macduff. And I remember when we first started doing it, we had Christina show us all the different sword positions, because we had no idea what we were doing as far as a sword battle would go.
Christina meeting Steina Stone, the infamous Steina Stone at Midvale. Anyway,
hello,
go ahead.
Steina. And then I remember we went into the prop closet and we found a bunch of different swords, and we wanted to use the metal ones. And Phaedra was like, no.
Was that because she saw us rehearsing and saw just how insane our choreography was for it?
I don't know if it was that or if she just saw us as two children and we were liabilities.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah, I actually forgot that was Christina, because I remember that we learned those positions and we did it. It was 3 minutes of just straight up sword fighting, right? Yeah.
Had to fill the time somehow.
Exactly, because they were supposed to be 5 minutes, but she gave us a minute of dialogue. I think I remember back on this, and I think that she was looking at us and being like, these guys may want to be here, may not, maybe mostly me, you know. So I'm just gonna give them something fun. Because that's what it was. It was so much fun. It was, for sure. And honestly, if we didn't have that scene together, I probably wouldn't have kept going in high school.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel so honored.
Right. But just because, we were talking about with this Hamlet scene, it was all just new and weird, you know? So having just something that I used to do in my backyard, just play swords with somebody, was just fun for me, you know? So, yeah. Well, cool. And going through Theater 3 and everything, you know, I'm sure you grew a lot. Do you remember any of the lessons you learned or anything like that?
Pay attention and write notes.
Okay. All right. That's something that everyone should remember. Write notes down.
Take notes, take notes, take notes.
Yeah, because something really cool about Phaedra is that she she sat down with every single scene and worked it with us. So, because like some I couldn't speak to any other theater class because obviously I haven't taken any classes from any other teachers, but you would almost expect that the teacher would be more focused on the star students or like the this big scene in itself rather than these two 10th graders that don't know what they're doing. But yeah, that's really cool. And yes, taking notes and just kind of making yourself better, that's always good. So cool. So we got through Theater 3, which was the first trimester. There's 3 trimesters at Brighton for some random ass reason.
So weird.
Did you audition for productions that year?
I did not.
Okay.
I think I was like, that's still a little too far out of my league. I think I'll take a step back and maybe try again next year.
Okay. Was there? It was just kind of an insecurity, or you just felt like you needed to learn more?
I felt like I had a little bit more to learn before I tried to make that jump. I didn't want to leap into it, and if I did get in, not be up to par with everyone else.
Okay, cool. So did you, as you went through the rest of the year, were you watching us at all or anything? That's a weird question to ask, but were you like envious a little bit maybe?
I was definitely envious, and I spent anyone who knew me in high school, if I wasn't at class, I was in the dropper room. That's my house.
Yeah, for sure. And that's like, when you're a theater kid, that's kind of where you hang out. But I remember for sure that you were always there.
On that disgusting purple couch.
Oh my God, that purple couch. This is such a trip down memory lane for me. I'm just imagining it will kind of set the scene of our weird drama room because it was a big room, right?
It was a really big room.
Yeah. And she had even a stage in the back of the room. And there was, why don't you describe it? Because
yeah, so
you might remember it better than me too. So
she had tables that lined either side of the wall, like going down, and there was an aisle in the middle. And then that aisle led up to the little 1-foot platform stage that she had at the back. And right in the center, at the very back of that stage, was this old, tattered, nasty purple couch.
And it was tiny. Like, why was it even there?
I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah.
But it was there. And people would sleep on it during lunch, and God knows what else.
Well, we'll get into the crazy sex stories maybe
if
we have time.
And then up above that was headshots
of all of her past students. Well, most of her past students, right?
The ones that she liked.
Exactly.
If they had a nice headshot,
the ones that either looked the best or she thought were the best. Do you remember? Okay, I'm projecting a lot of my stuff onto you right now, and I apologize.
Do it.
Do you remember looking up at that headshot wall? What were you thinking while you were looking at that?
Well, first I was looking at all of like the juniors and seniors that had already made it up there, and I was like, I want to be up there. And then I would look higher, and I would recognize people from the show, from the musicals that I had come and seen when I was younger. Like I saw like a bunch of the Thoroughly Modern Millie Cast was the first musical I ever went and saw there.
Okay.
Which I loved. It's my favorite show.
I never got the chance to see it, but my mom's still to this day thinks it's one of the best shows that she's ever seen.
It was amazing.
Yeah, I could only imagine. So anyway.
But yeah, and I was just like, I got to be a part of this wall, man.
Okay.
And I did, guys. I made the wall for like a year.
Absolutely. You were a big deal, Anyway, so getting back to you were anxiously awaiting to come back for your junior year, for my senior year, basically. And the musical the next year was Grease, exactly. And so what were you thinking? Did you know that was going to be the show before we came back from summer?
I didn't, and honestly, it was the last thing I expected because I didn't think, from what I understood, that she didn't like that show.
Right.
Phaedra was not a fan of Grease.
Right.
Which most people, it's one of those acquired tastes. You either love it or you hate it.
Yes, it is. I say this, and I said it during our run of Grease at Midvale. It's a shitty show, but I love it.
Oh, it's terrible, but it's so
bad.
Much fun to do, and it's fun to just watch. You just can't read into it too much.
Exactly. Don't pay attention, but it's fun. Anyway, so you come back and you see that this is the show. What were your thoughts?
I was stoked.
Really? Okay.
Because I was like, this is maybe my opportunity to get out of my shell. Because the year before, when we did Anything Goes, I was still...
Oh, so you were in Anything Goes.
Mm-hmm,
Okay,
yep.
that was my first show there, too, and it sounds like maybe yours.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yep.
Anyway, Grease.
Right, and so I was like... Well, because they had put me in the back for all of Anything Goes, and I was like, that's not gonna happen again.
Cool.
I'm gonna branch out.
Uh-huh.
And so I just went balls to the wall and like worked my ass off, and I got up into the front, and it was...
When you say the front, you're...
Of like most of the dances, the
right,
ensemble
and you're
dances.
referencing your dancing ability, right?
My newly found,
Okay.
as of that year. I didn't know that I had any dancing ability at all.
Okay.
And then...
So is Grease the show that kind of proved to you that you could dance then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That was my confidence boost that kind of projected me into it.
Gotcha.
Into everything else.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'm envious of you for your dancing ability, but so you auditioned for it, you got in, you were in front of the group and everything. I was still in the back, and I had some speaking lines and everything, but were you doing Theater 3 again that year?
I don't think I did. I don't think my
Okay.
dad let me.
Okay.
If I remember correctly. I didn't do too well in school.
Oh, okay.
and
So it was a grades issue?
Yeah, he was like, you need to focus on other stuff, and I
Gotcha.
didn't focus on other stuff.
So you didn't do Theater 3.
Nope.
And did you audition for productions that year?
I don't think I auditioned that year either.
Okay. So, and that was it just grades, or kind of what was the thought process there?
I think it was mostly that I just wasn't doing too well in school,
Okay.
and he wanted me to focus
Gotcha.
on my studies.
Again, this is mind-blowing to me because I was doing Theater 3 and I did productions that year, but I was on razor like thin ice because my grades were so shitty that Phaedra was like, if you don't get your grades up, you're out. That's actually and we're going to get into this because you were in the presidency for Drama Club, right?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay, never mind then. But no, she came up to me and she was like, after the votes had been tallied for Drama Club presidency for when I was going to be in senior year, she came up to me and she was like, I want you to know that you got more votes than anybody else for presidency.
I voted for you.
But thank you. But I can't let you in because you have such shitty grades. And I don't know why that didn't kick me in the butt, because it's like, I'm not dumb, it's like I could have got the grades. I just didn't give a shit.
I have the same exact problem.
Yeah, exactly. Why do you think that is?
I really don't know. School just never was. Maybe it's just the structure of school, because I love learning. Like I'm watching like educational YouTube videos
All
and
the
like
time.
documentaries, and I try to absorb every piece of information that I possibly can, and I read like at least one book a week. Like I love to absorb knowledge. I just hate having to prove it, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So like homework and testing sounds
Yeah.
like. Me too. I hate it. And it's like, I kept telling my mom this because she was like, why are you, like, I would do homework and then not turn it in. That was like how weird I was about it. She was like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just do your homework and get it turned in? And I was like, I know it. Why do I need to prove that to anybody else? So
Exactly.
yeah, for sure. Anyway, were you still studying theater or doing anything like that during your junior year, or was that kind of something that you pushed to the back of your mind?
Let's see. Junior year, I was in the Draper Arts Council, Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
Which was fun.
Cool.
With Tommy Kaye.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Tommy Kaye, who's performed at Midvale a bunch of times. Did you guys get to know each other at all during that?
That's where we became friends.
Gotcha.
And I didn't even know he did shows at Midvale until we did our first one together, and I was like, so excited. I love
Awesome.
Tommy Kaye.
So, yeah, he's one of my favorite people ever. But how was it? Was it weird going to school and then going to like Draper or wherever else and doing a show rather than staying at school like you'd been trained to the year before?
It was really weird because that was the first show outside of school that I'd ever done, so I got a taste of like
Just
how not every theater is the same. Like
Right.
everyone has their own
and I'm sure
schedule and way of doing things.
And I'm sure the rules were a little more lax now that it wasn't a Phaedra-driven show. Sure, cool. So doing that and then coming back your senior year, you auditioned for Hello Dolly, right?
I did,
Okay.
but then once again, my dad pulled me out of it.
Okay.
Because
so
I wasn't up to snuff.
Gotcha. Did you get cast and everything?
I think I got cast in the ensemble.
Okay. Gotcha.
But
Okay.
then I had to back out.
So then did you do any other shows after Grease at Brighton? Or was that kind of it?
That was it after that.
Okay. All right. But you were still in drama club. You're still hanging out in this group. Cool. And this kind of leads me into the next kind of part of your high school experience that I was interested in. You joined the Marines right after high school.
I did.
Yes. And I remember it because I remember you were always talking about it and you were so excited about it. What was kind of like, why did you want to go ahead and do that?
It had always kind of been one of those things that was like in the back of my mind that like I would love to be able to do this. I don't know if I can, but it would be an awesome thing to go do. And it was always the Marines. I didn't ever want to be anything else.
Well, I've kind of dabbled in thinking I could possibly do something, but the Marines are always like the badasses, the ones that you want to be. So I absolutely get that. So was that something that you were prepping for in high school, or?
It was actually kind of a spur of the moment thing.
Really?
I was taking a guitar class. But yeah, so I was sitting in class and this recruiter walked in his dress blues and was like, "Hey, has anyone in here ever thought about joining the military?" And I was just like, put my hand up real slow. I was like, yeah. And at the time I was in like my full blown emo phase. I was wearing like my little sister's jeans and I had like a black and white mohawk. Like it was brutal. And he just looked me up and down. He's like, "All right." And he handed me his card and he's like, "Come see me sometime."
Wow. Okay, cool. So did you sit on it or did you immediately go see him?
Well, actually the next day was my 18th birthday and I walked in there. I was like, "Sign me up, dude. Let's do this."
Wow.
Like
so there was no questions or anything. It was just
not really. I
go.
just kind of split decision.
Wow.
Decided to do it.
Yeah, crazy. Well,
Probably
cool.
wasn't the smartest thing, but
well, and I've heard as much. I don't know why, but I plan to get into that. So why don't we take a little break?
Okay.
We'll just hang out for a second. We'll come back and we'll kind of start discussing that and then get into Midvale and, what we're doing now.
sounds good.
Cool. Like what you're hearing? Please remember to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or wherever else you're listening. Also remember to find us on Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, and now on YouTube at MMST Podcast. Thank you so much, guys. All right, and we are back. We've just had a couple drinks, and we are hanging out. We're having fun, right?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Well, on that note, let's jump into your military career. Because I've heard mixed messages from you about it. So I kind of wanted to jump into it. You enlist, right? Mm-hmm. And from what I remember, there's only a couple different options you can have as far as military careers in the Marines specifically, right?
Right.
Okay. So what was your specialty?
So what you do when you enlist is they have you take a test called the ASVAB, and it's basically an intelligence and aptitude test to show where your strengths lie and how smart you are. And I scored pretty damn high. And so he said, you can basically have
Whatever you want.
more or less whatever you want to do.
Okay.
To a certain degree. And I was, being the stupid kid that I was like, I want to do something, boots on the ground. I want to get in there and do something. And he's like, "Are you good with your hands?" And I was like, "Sure, yeah." And so I ended up being a motor T mechanic.
Okay.
Didn't fix a single truck in 4 years.
Really? Okay. Huh. So
terrible at my job.
Gotcha. So you were supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, cool. So you enlist. You're looking to be a motor technician. You go to boot camp. Mm-hmm. How was that?
Boot camp is the hardest thing to describe to someone who's never experienced or like even seen it.
Or even it's lifted weights, really.
Yeah. So like in most movies and stuff, when you see it, it's like, people yelling at you and they're like speaking sensibly though. Like you can tell what they're yelling at you and you can tell when you did something wrong and when you didn't. And like, if you've seen Full Metal Jacket or anything that.
I've seen the scenes of the drill sergeant.
So that's what people think it's like. But in reality, it's like just screaming complete nonsense. And they do that. They don't ever explain it to you, but I would assume they do it just to like
rattle
teach
you
you how
around.
to maintain calm in the face of absolute chaos.
Okay, sure.
If there is a method to the madness, which there might be, there might not be.
Sure. Okay. Cool.
So so it's just complete chaos for 13 weeks, and then
Then you're done.
go through your ceremony and you're a Marine.
Gotcha. And from what my understanding is, again, if I ever make a mistake, please correct me, but you go to boot camp just to learn the basics, right? Mm-hmm. So you're just 13 weeks of straight up yelling and muscle soreness and sleep deprivation, everything like that. So, I mean, this is a weird question. Did you ever think back on your theater life or your high school life and think, what the hell have I done?
Every single night.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I've heard that. I've heard that people get like this idea of what it's supposed to be and then immediately get disenchanted with the whole process. So you're doing this, you graduate, you're finally out of that hellhole. What happened after that?
After that, you go to, depending on your MOS, if you're infantry, you go to SOI, which is the School of Infantry. And if you're not, you go to what's called Marine Combat Training. And you do that for a month. And it's basically what it sounds like. They teach you a little bit more about, the different guns and the different movement tactics and like dumb stuff like that.
So you're working on trucks mostly, but you still have to learn all of the...
So I actually, before that, or at this time, you still haven't gone to your job school. You do that after the combat training.
So you're just learning how to fight first. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I mean, was that exciting for you at all?
It was because that's really what I wanted to do in my misplaced mindset. That's, what I wanted to go off and do. And so I kind of dove into it head first and put my all into it.
Gotcha. And then you go to school, you learn how to fix up trucks and everything like that. Once you graduate from all your schooling, everything like that, where did you go? What happened there?
From there, I went to Okinawa, Japan for 2 years.
Because the Marines have 3 bases in the world,
Three main bases, and then there's a bunch of little tiny ones.
Gotcha.
Sporadically. But there's San Diego, California, which is Camp Pendleton, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and then there's like 5 different bases on Okinawa.
Okay. Which
is just a tiny little island off of Japan, just south of Japan.
Question, you may not know the answer to this, but why have the 2 bases here in the States and then just 1 in Japan? Is it still like a holdover from World War II or?
Mm-hmm. So Okinawa is what is affectionately known as the tip of the spear. And so it's just kind of like our outside,
just our like
kind of like
jumping off point,
keeping an eye on North Korea and all that
Gotcha.
Nonsense. I don't know the full scope of it, but that's layman's terms.
Gotcha. So while you were in Japan, how was that? Because I'm sure, had you been out of the country before that?
Nope.
Okay. So what was it like trying to adjust to this whole new place?
Well, because there's so many bases on Okinawa and because it's so small, you get very Americanized Japanese culture.
Okay.
So like most of the local nationals speak pretty good English, so there's not a whole lot of a language barrier.
Okay.
But you do still get to experience like a lot of really cool things. Like Okinawa has the second largest aquarium in the world.
Oh, cool.
I think I put a YouTube video up of me there, and it's like the biggest tank you could possibly imagine. It's insane.
Cool. I'm gonna have to look that up.
It's really cool.
I will post that in the show notes, by the way. If I find it, I'll post that for sure. But anyway.
But yeah, like you got to learn the money system, which is a little bit different. They use yen. Mm-hmm. But no, it's a lot of fun.
Cool.
If you can remember it, because most people just kind of turn to the bottle while they're out there.
Gotcha. Okay, is that something that you ever had to deal with, or that's a weird question, and I hope that's not overstepping the bounds here.
Not necessarily as far as like alcoholism goes, but I definitely consumed my fair share while you're out there. And the drinking age is 20, so you can start sooner.
Cool. Okay, so I mean, it sounds like for these first couple years, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't a bad life necessarily.
No.
Okay. After that, then, what happened?
So while I was in Okinawa, you do a 2-year tour out there. I got chosen about 6 months in. I got chosen to go to another command and go to Afghanistan.
Okay.
So I went from my maintenance battalion to a combat logistics battalion for a few months, and then we went over there to Afghanistan for 7 months.
7 months. Wow. How was that? I keep asking you how that was, but I'm just fascinated.
Hot,
Sure.
dusty,
sandy.
People ask what it's like, and I tell them to go, like, heat their oven up to like stupid high, and then go get a bunch of powdered sugar and put it in your hand, and then open the door and just like take a blow dryer and just blow all of the powdered sugar into your face at the same time, and that's what it is all the time.
Man, I can't even imagine. Yeah, you see some of these pictures and it just seems miserable. Yeah.
We didn't have it too bad though.
Good. Well, good. Yeah. I mean, so going through all this, it seems like you weren't necessarily too disaffected for the first part, at least, right?
No.
Okay. So I may be wrong. It seems like you did get more and more frustrated with the system as you went on. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Definitely.
Why is that?
The military, it might just be the Marines in general, but I don't feel that it's the case. They have a tendency to do the stupidest thing possible, like in order to get the highest results. Like as far like the promotion system.
Okay.
Is very little about how well you do your job or how smart you are, and very much on like how strong you are, how many pull-ups you can do, what's
Really?
your
Wow, you wouldn't.
what do you
think...
get on your combat fitness test? It's stuff like it's things like that. And so really stupid, really angry, really strong people have a tendency to bump up in the ranks really quickly.
Gotcha. Okay.
And
yeah, that seems completely backwards to me.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just a breeding ground for toxic masculinity. It's terrible.
Gotcha. And that, from what I remember, you weren't a meathead back in high school or anything.
No.
Yeah. So when you joined, were you planning on sticking with it? Was it like your career, or were you thinking you were just?
It was a thought. I hadn't really.
Well, because
that's kind of one of my failings in life is I don't ever think too far ahead.
Gotcha. Well, you were 18 at the time too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm right there with you with the thinking ahead. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but so it was 6 years that you enlisted, right? Is it
4?
4. Okay. I must have been thinking of a different branch, but 4 years. Were you out after the 4 years?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You're just completely done. You were ready to come home.
Dropped off. I actually got out a little bit early because at the time they were trying to downsize the military.
Okay.
And so they were doing.
So they weren't trying to keep you at all. Okay.
Yeah. So they let me go like a month and a half early.
Gotcha.
I got to surprise my mom because she didn't know I was coming home.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Did you just not tell her, or was it?
No, I didn't tell her. My dad flew out to get me, and then we drove back in my truck from North Carolina.
So you just showed up on her doorstep. That's so funny. I love it. How did you react?
Freaked out.
Yeah.
Lost it.
Well, were your parents supportive of you being in the military and everything?
They weren't happy about it, but they were definitely very proud of me, and as supportive as any parents could possibly be.
Cool. Because it is something to be proud about, ultimately. There's a lot of shit going on in the country right now, but I still feel like serving it is still something that is noble. So
I agree.
Thank you for your service, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But okay, so you came home. And what year was this?
It was 2014.
14. Okay. What were your thoughts about what you were going to do next when you came home?
I pretty much just had the plan of, because my family owns a business, and so I just jumped right into that and started working. It's what I'm doing now.
Okay.
Still.
Cool. What do you do, by the way?
We own a wholesale flooring company.
Okay.
So we sell like carpet and tile and all that.
Gotcha. Cool.
Kind of stuff.
Cool. So you were just doing that and everything. And was theater something that you were looking to get back into when you came back?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So my brother-in-law at the time actually was involved in Sandy's production of Footloose, and he got me into that. And so as soon as I got home, I jumped into a show.
Cool.
And was doing Footloose.
Gotcha.
Which quite literally saved my life because I was not a happy person when I got home.
So when you say save your life, is it just like something to do, or was it the people, or?
All of it. Like I didn't have really kind of a sense of purpose after I got out. I think it's something a lot of vets struggle with. Is like you serve this purpose for all this time, and then they kind of just drop you off the face of the earth, and you have to find a new meaning.
Right. And it's funny to me. Again, I keep getting sidetracked. I apologize, but it's funny to me that a lot of these military commercials, if you want to use the word propaganda, you can. They tout their ability to get you educated and get you job skills, and then you see all these vets come home and they just don't know what to do. Like they can't get hired because they don't have the skills that are necessary and everything. So, yeah, I mean, it sounds kind of like that's what you were struggling with.
Yeah, it's kind of like trying to transfer your college credits to another school that won't accept them. So like I'm technically have all kinds of certifications to work on trucks, but I couldn't get a job at Jiffy Lube if I wanted to right now.
Wow, really?
Yeah, because they're not the same certifications. They don't transfer over.
Huh. That blows my mind, because you would think that would be, it's a car, it's a truck. So yeah. Wow. Well, then bringing in Footloose, I mean, that's awesome. Did you have to relearn how to perform?
For the first couple of weeks, I was still really shy because I had become a little more reserved. But after a while, you start crawling, you start walking, you start running.
Sure. Cool. And yeah, how was it? I mean,
Footloose was a blast.
Yeah.
That's where I met Allie Duke and a couple other people.
That was your first show back? Mm-hmm. I saw that show.
At the Sandy Amphitheater?
Yes. This is blowing my mind right now. I didn't realize that was your first show back. It seems like that one was after Grease for some reason, but I guess it wasn't. Anyway, so you met Allie, and you met other people that had done Midvale shows. Mm-hmm. Had you heard about, did you talk about Midvale then with them, or how did you hear about us, I guess?
So I heard about Midvale because Tommy K, who was also in Footloose, he was Willard.
Mm-hmm. He was so good as Willard too.
So funny.
Fucking, if they ever do Footloose at Midvale, I'm just like, the one part I could play is Willard, and then Tommy's gonna come and get it. So, yeah, theater problems. Anyway,
and so he was doing Spring Awakening the first time you guys did it,
right?
And so I came and saw it.
Maybe that's why I remember it in a weird way. But yeah.
And then I was just hooked, because that Spring Awakening was incredible, and I was just like, I gotta be at this theater. I gotta be a part of this.
Sure. Had you seen Spring Awakening or anything before?
Mm-mm.
Really? Okay.
I knew the soundtrack, but I hadn't seen it.
Yeah. Gotcha. Because I was lucky enough to be a part of that cast. I had 3 lines in the show, but
and he was great.
Yes, my 3 lines killed it. But yeah, I feel like that's something that's very cool and very unique to Midvale, because we don't see Spring Awakening being produced anywhere. No, you don't see shows that matter being produced anywhere, I should say.
That's what I love about them. You're never gonna see Midvale presents Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
That day is the day this podcast ends. That day is the day that I leave Midvale forever.
Tammy, if you ever do that show, I'm tapping out.
Oh, absolutely. How many times have you seen Joseph, by the way?
I have never seen Joseph on principle.
Gotcha. Okay. Because that's the only way you could ever avoid that shit. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so you see Spring Awakening. You hear from Tommy that Midvale's a place to be. Was Grease the next year after Spring Awakening?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So Grease was 8 months, I think, after Spring Awakening and Footloose.
Gotcha. Okay. So was when the audition notice came out for Grease, the show that really kind of brought you out of yourself in high school, how did that feel?
I was stoked. I was like, I gotta be a part of it. I want to be a part of Midvale, and I love Grease. This is just clicking for me.
Cool. So you come, you audition. Do you remember what you sang or anything?
Oh my God, I sang "You're the Top" from Anything Goes.
Oh, so it's just a full circle of Brighton shows. I love it.
A cappella too.
That's awesome.
I'm not the best auditioner, folks.
Well, we're good enough to get the part, which is what I was going to come to. You played Kenicke in Grease. and this again may be wrong. I remember you saying though that that was a dream role for you.
It was, yeah.
Okay, so how did that feel to be able to play the part that you wanted and come to Midvale and everything?
I was awestruck. It was a dream come true.
Cool, and that's awesome. And again, it's another testament to Midvale, because I've seen so many people that want parts and the shows are never done or whatever else, and then they finally get it at Midvale, and that's really cool. Very cool that Midvale could do that for us. But so you get this part, super stoked. How did you? This is kind of a general question too. How do you prepare for a role once you get it? And we could even use Kenicke as an example or whatever else.
I honestly, I'm bad in that sense. I don't do a whole lot of, unless it's like something super serious that I really need to get into. I kind of just
find
play
it
and have fun and
right.
like.
But you find it during rehearsal. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean, going back to our high school years, we grew up with Phaedra giving us character analysis sheets. Do you remember those? Mm-hmm. And they were like, it had to be like 3 pages long, and they had like every little detail about these characters, and I never used one of the things that I wrote down for those in our performances. So I feel like the best characters and the best actors, they find it in rehearsal. They don't plan it, you know? So that makes sense for sure. Well, Grease came, you were playing Kenicke, and, on top of the world, I'm sure you were feeling cool.
So excited.
Yeah, absolutely. How was it coming to Midvale? How was the rehearsal process and everything?
Not nearly as structured as I thought it was going to be. Like after seeing Spring Awakening, I'm like, oh, these guys are probably like going balls to the wall, doing everything like super by the book and stuff. And it wasn't. And it was so relaxed, and it was just like a group of friends showed up and like, hey, let's put this show on.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And that's, again, another thing I love about Midvale, because Phaedra was such a director. She was like, you walk 3 steps over here, then you pick this up, and then like all this stuff. And then Midvale, you come in and they're just like, you need to do what feels good for you. Mm-hmm. So that's really cool. Is it hard for you to adjust to that at all or anything?
Not really.
Cool.
I kind of just went with the flow and
turned out
every
awesome.
second of it.
Cool. Awesome. Well, yeah, after that, that show closed. I'm sure you were like, I want to keep doing stuff. What's next? And apparently First Date was next, I believe. Right?
Was it First Date or was it Chicago?
I feel I've got them written down here.
I think it was Chicago.
Chicago was next. Okay. Well, while I was prepping, I looked at the roles that you had, done, and looked at the shows, and there's something to talk about with every one of them. I heard this story about Chicago, and I may be wrong, but you were offered a certain part in the show, and then you came to Tammy and was like, no, I want to be in this ensemble. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. Why? That seems so backwards to me. I'm sorry. I love ensemble, but,
So it was kind of a collaborative effort between Tommy and I, because Tommy K really wanted to be,
whatever.
Fred Casely.
Yes. Okay.
And Chicago's just such a fun show, and it has such a strong ensemble presence, and so I just really wanted to be more of a part of that.
Okay. Did it have to do with the dancing part of it or anything?
The dancing was a big part, and then I ended up doing half of the role of like the band leader.
Okay, right.
Because somebody couldn't remember their lines.
Uh-oh, calling people out. We're not going to mention any names, but I'm sure that certain people in this audience know who we're talking about. But we don't need to go into that necessarily. Anyway.
So, but no, yeah. So I really just wanted to be a part of the dancing, and Alex Zenoff was choreographing, and she's incredible. And will kick your ass.
Absolutely.
With her choreography.
She's never been my choreographer, but you can tell from those crazy dances.
She's a freaking jazz dancer, so...
Right. She dances every night down at the Vivint Smart Home Arena.
Is that what it is now?
I think
it's
so.
Still the Delta Center.
Exactly. The fucking Delta Center. Just leave it alone. But, so... Chicago, I'm sure, was awesome just for that reason, just dancing and being such a big part of it. Yeah, for sure. And then after that, then we get into First Date, right? Okay, finally got there. So you played a couple parts. And I wanted to ask you about these because they're such diverse characters. You played Reggie.
Complete polar opposites.
Right. So you play Reggie, describe Reggie for me.
So Reggie is, he talks like this, and he's not Cassidy, sorry.
He's Casey's, the main girl, her best friend, and they don't really interact at all in the show, but Reggie just pops in 3 times throughout the show to call her on her cell phone and bail her out of the date.
Right.
And he sings 3 different versions of a song called Bail Out, which is just hilarious.
Do you remember the lyrics? Could you sing one for us? You don't have to, but I would love it. No, I won't be that mean. I won't make you.
Okay.
That's fine. But so yes, obviously a super like out there eccentric character. But then you also had the other 2. Why don't you go ahead and just give me those?
So the other more main character, the second more important one is Casey's asshole ex-boyfriend, one of 2.
Was he the British one, I believe?
No, that was Seth was the British guy. I was the American.
But you played the guitar.
I pretended to play the guitar.
Gotcha. Well, cool. And then there was a third one you said, right?
And then the third one is a fictional representation of Casey and Aaron's future son, who's like a freaking rapper and stuff, and he's super confused because Casey's a Christian and Aaron's a Jew, and what do I believe, man? I'm so confused. I don't know what to do.
Right. Gotcha. Cool. So how, like, was it hard to play those 3 just completely different characters?
It was fun.
Okay.
Way more than it was hard.
Cool.
Because you just get to jump in and out of everything, and you don't have to flip immediately from one to the other. Because you have a lot of being like an ensemble member of that show is just sitting in a chair, like looking at your phone, like pretending to be on a date.
Right. Gotcha.
In complete silence.
Well, yeah. I mean, I ask because those are like 3 just completely different characters, and you played them all so well. Do you pride yourself on being a character actor, or is that just like, do you even think about it, or?
I don't really pay much thought to it, but a character actor is definitely what I am.
Okay.
Like if you asked me to play a real person, I would probably fail miserably.
I agree 100%. I
think
not for you. I mean, for me. Yeah.
I think it takes an extra level of skill to be able to do that, which I just don't have.
Gotcha.
And I'd like to just
play,
be dumb and ridiculous on stage, and so the character roles naturally come.
You're right, and I don't know if it's an extra talent, but it's a different talent to play just like the lead or whatever else. Yeah, because I've said as much to people. My characters that I've been most proud of are not the lead characters. I feel like I don't connect with them as much as some of these more out there characters. So I absolutely understand what you're talking about. Yeah. It's cool. And then, so after First Date, the big one for me that I remember you so well for is Rock of Ages, which is the one that we're jumping into right now. You played Franz
Klinemann. Yeah.
Klinemann. Okay. And I just remember it because it's like the most like you've acted, I feel like, in Midvale, because it's such a crazy character. Go through so much. Talk to me about Franz. What'd you like about him?
Franz is, what I love about Franz as a person is like just how much heart he has and how innocent he is.
Okay.
Which is quite a bit different than who I am. I'm kind of cold and a little bit of an asshole sometimes.
Absolutely disagree. You can listen to this podcast and you can tell me if Todd is a cold person. But no, that's really cool. Was that challenging, or was that again just something that you were just loving doing?
Franz was a bit of a challenge for me. Mostly the accent.
Yeah. Which
I still don't think came out where I wanted it to, but
you did it better than anybody else could have. I will say that for sure. Accents for me are just like that's a talent that I don't have for sure. Like what we were talking
I
about.
struggle. And
It was good.
then vocally, was very demanding for me too, because I'm not the highest of tenors.
And he had some crazy notes, right? Yeah.
Stupid notes.
Stupid notes for sure. Yeah. It's as dudes that can sing, we are asked sometimes to sing things that we just can't. And I'm not saying that that's true for you with Rock of Ages, but like for me in Rocky Horror Show, I'm proud of the character that I put on stage. I'm not proud of that vocal performance because it was just crazy.
Riff Raff is a hard role.
Insane.
Dude.
So
that is brutal.
Yeah. So you did Rocky Horror Show the second time around with Danny, who fucking killed it.
Destroyed.
Yes. So there's guys that can hit these notes, and then there's guys that have to try. And so I get you for sure. Last one that I wanted to kind of talk about is Spring Awakening, because you saw the Spring Awakening the first time. That was your first introduction to Midvale. So you come and audition. How are you feeling?
Really nervous because I've done all of these like goofy character roles and over the top kind of people, and then you have to get into a show that's really, really dark and really, really heavy.
Well, in your character that you played, Hanschen, he doesn't necessarily have like an upswing in his arc at all.
No, he's totally the same guy all the way through.
Yeah.
And once again, the Act 2 icebreaker.
Right. For sure. So how was that different from the other shows that you had done, or like how were you feeling doing that character and trying to build him?
It was a lot different, and I don't even know how I would describe it, because it's so much different, or it's so different from
Oh, you're fine.
It's so different from all of the other shows
Yeah.
that I've been a part of. And so like when you're walking past the grave and you have to cry, like I can't cry.
Yeah.
I don't cry.
Me neither. I was so bad at that in this show.
And like I'm standing next to Garrett, who's just weeping. Garrett Grigg, ladies and gentlemen.
Fantastic, for sure.
Wonderful.
Yes.
And like real tears, and I'm just like, how?
Come on,
how
man.
are you doing this?
This isn't fair. I get you for sure. Another question I had with it, I have never been a part of the revival shows. We'll call them the shows that they have done more than once. Was it weird trying to come into a role that you know has already been done on Midvale stage?
That's one of the things I was most worried about, and I can't remember his name.
Terry.
Who played
Terry.
Was hilarious when he did it.
Sure.
And you know, he's playing Hanschen is one of the lucky actors, as you get to be funny.
Right.
And
sure.
like I was dying watching him. And I was like, there's no way that I'm gonna be as funny as he was. There's no way.
Well, I beg to differ, and obviously,
you.
like you go see of course. Yeah, it's just it's interesting to me because I've seen Danny play a part that I've had, and then I've heard Jeremy play a part that I've had. I haven't been able to. I didn't get to see that show, unfortunately, Spelling Bee. But it's always weird to me to come back to these shows. And so I'm always just curious as to what you guys are feeling, you know? So anyway, cool. Well, that's everything at Midvale, right? That you've done so far?
I think we covered them all.
Perfect. Well, that leads me into our next little topic of discussion. You are in Mamma Mia rehearsals right now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How's that been going?
It's going good. Like I said earlier, we're kind of just starting to get the bones down and getting the basics and everything. But it's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah.
Like the girl that plays Tanya, the lady that I'm hitting on the whole time, Andrea, she is so sweet, and she's like a child. Like she's a full grown woman, and you just like you get this like kid presence when you're around her. She's so much fun to be around.
Gotcha. Cool.
And the whole cast, a lot of them like the vast majority of the cast is I've never met before. They haven't done a show, at least with me, at Midvale.
Right.
So I'm like trying to learn everybody's name, and I'm terrible with names.
Sure. Well, this is Todd's apology in advance if you guys are listening. So you mentioned something there that was that I thought about. how important for you is your scene partner? It's a weird question, but how important is it for you to get like energy from the person you're against?
Very, very important.
Okay.
Like I remember when we were doing Grease, my Rizzo, like she didn't want to kiss me. She didn't want to. And so we were like, we were pretending like just like turned away, like rubbing our faces
Necking.
together. And like, so we kind of had like this awkward tension between us, I feel like.
Okay.
But then I've played with other people, like when I was Franz and I was playing with Taylor
Lawrence.
Taylor Heaps now.
Right. Congratulations.
We have just such great chemistry, and it was so much fun to play with her. It was so easy. We didn't even have to try. And
Gotcha.
so
Cool. Well, and it sounds like Tanya is going to kind of give that as well.
I'm so excited to work with her.
Cool. That's awesome. And yeah, man, well, I'm super excited. Like I say, it's hard for me sometimes to sit on the outside, but it's also really exciting because I love hearing what you're saying, and now it just like builds up the anticipation for me. I'm so excited to see what you guys are working on for sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's it. Do you have any other plans for after Mamma Mia, or?
I'm kind of just taking it one day at a time right now, so hopefully there will be more shows to come. I'm not sure what else is in Tammy's season.
I'm not either. We've heard rumors, and I can't say them on air, but I will say that from what I've heard, we should be pretty excited about what's coming up.
I'm excited.
I'll talk to you about it after we end here. But yeah, man, this was awesome. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoyed it too. So,
I did.
Cool.
Thoroughly.
All right. Well, yeah, thank you guys so much. We'll see you later. As always, the Midvale Main Street Theatre podcast is sponsored, funnily enough, by the Midvale Main Street Theatre. Check out new and exciting updates on everything going on at the Midvale Main Street Theatre by going to www.midvaletheatre.com or check them out on Facebook and Instagram at Midvale Main Street Theatre. You can find show notes and much more by going to our podcast's Facebook page at facebook.com/MMST podcast. Special thanks to Ashley Howell, Joel Clark, and Matthew Petrucci for help making this show happen. I owe you guys the world. I've been Michael Howell, and this has been the Midvale Main Street Theatre podcast. The views expressed have been mine alone and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Midvale Main Street Theatre, its owners, or volunteers. If you've liked what you've heard today, please consider finding the Midvale Main Street Theatre podcast on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or whatever podcast listener you're using and dropping us a 5-star review. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at MMST Podcast. Thank you very much, and until next time, we'll see ya.